Should we talk about the fact that Kadokawa Games is secretly becoming the biggest company in the industry of gaming in Japan? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these days they bought Square Enix and Atlus and Sega and everybody. Like, freaking Kadokawa Games is a company that's been there since the 70s or 80s actually. And now they bought Acquire. So Acquire, what's Acquire? What the fuck is Acquire, right? They acquired Acquire. Well, first and foremost, thank you, Kiss, for sending me the news. I didn't know Kadokawa Games owned a big part of From Software. Believe it or not, that fucking company that you guys love and I don't. Well, I like some of their games. Lost Kingdoms, Enchanted Arms, Forever Kingdom, Bloodborne. So yeah, in case you didn't know, Kadokawa Games owns a big chunk of that company. Not all of it, because companies nowadays are like, hey, this company owns 70% of my company, this other one owns 20%, and this other one owns 10%. So let's just say that Kadokawa Games owns From Software. But that's kind of old news. The new news is that Kadokawa has acquired Acquire. Who the fuck is Acquire? Well, the developers of the Way of the Samurai games, Tenchu, Akiba Strip. You know those games? Well, you probably know them because they developed a couple of turn-based RPGs published by Square Enix called the Octopath Pathfinder? No, Octopath Journeyman? No, Octopath something. I don't know. Have you heard of pretty obscure games? You know, one of those millions of hidden gems, extremely obscure RPGs by Square Enix. You know, yeah, Octopath something. Come on, guys, I don't remember the names. It's Was it Seven Path? Was it like Seven Warriors? I don't know. Well, yeah, you know those fucking games. Yeah, Acquire is the developer of those games, and Kadokawa Games now owns them. What does this mean? Okay, this is... I don't know if this is good or bad news. Should you be worried about the future of Octopath Traveler? Nah, I don't know, man. I think the problem here is that the first three games, there were three games, one of them was for phones, a bit of a spin-off. So the first three games in the Octopath series were published by Square Enix. So pretty much Square Enix funded these games and they most likely own the rights. So, oh yeah, now you see what I'm talking about, right? Is this the end of Octopath Traveler? Because now Kadokawa owns the developer? Or is Kadokawa gonna give permission to Square Enix to continue letting Acquire develop the Octopath Traveler series? I don't know. Hopefully. I, for one, I'm a big fan of the series, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are as well. I fucking love those games. And I sure would like to see an Octopath Traveler 3 one day, even if it takes the company 4 or 5 years to develop it, because there was a 5-year gap between part 1 and 2. There was a spin-off I mentioned in the middle. I think it came out in 2021 if I'm not mistaken, but anyway, original Octopath Traveler was released in 2018, and then the new one, Octopath 2, was last year, right, 2023. So chances are, if all goes well, we'll see the third one in 2028, I believe. Yeah, we're years away from that. So yeah, maybe what I'm hoping for is maybe Square Enix will do something and cooperate with Kadokawa or rehire Acquire, or maybe make some kind of contract to continue the series, because we all know what happens when a company buys a studio. I mean, all of a sudden that studio can no longer develop their own legendary series anymore. It happened to Tri-Ace, okay? Before they went back to working with Square Enix, they left, and they are owned by this company called Nepro Japan, whatever the fuck that is, and they developed Exist Archive. co-developed it with Spike Chunsoft. But it was like, man, okay, and everybody started treating the game as a spiritual successor to Valkyrie Profile. So what's next? What's going to be next for Acquire? A spiritual successor to Octopath Traveler? I mean, not that Exist Archive was bad, it was a pretty damn good game, but I think everybody wanted Valkyrie Profile 3, which never happened. And we don't want to get into that. Let's not open the Pandora's box that is Valkyrie Profile nowadays, okay? My point remains the same, that I hope everybody finds a way to develop Octopath Traveler 3, developed by Acquire, not somebody else, not just Square Enix and new people and new studios, not just Kadokawa Games with something else in a new game, no. So should we be worried? I don't know, but we'll see, right? We'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll get a new one, and hopefully Kadokawa acquiring Acquire is more good news than bad ones. Do you think Persona 1 Remake in HD 2D style will be cool? Not really. None of the Persona games will benefit from that style. I think the graphics are very different, and that kind of style is more for fantasy or science fiction fantasy video games. It suits them better. I don't know, Persona 1, 2, and 2, 2.2, in that style, I don't think so. Not in my opinion, though. I wouldn't want to see them. Persona 3 Reload, I haven't played it. There is no more fatigue system. That's good. I always hated that. I fucking hate fatigue systems. Fortunately, there's only like 4 or 5 JRPGs in existence that have them, that came out of Japan. There's one that didn't come out of Japan, and it's one of the hardest video games of all time, and that's Fire Emblem, pretty much Fire Emblem 5, also known as Thracia 776. It has a fatigue system. You use a unit too much in 1 or 2 maps, and they get fatigued, and you can't use them in the next mission. Like, why? It's a fucking video game, come on! Why are my characters getting fatigued? I don't like that. So I never liked that in Persona 3. That fatigue system was kind of like, hey, I'm too tired to go. When I want to grind, I need to grind you so you can get stronger. Damn you, Akihiko! Yeah. I know a lot of people are going to be mad about that decision, but I support Atlus in that. Thank you for getting rid of that decision. Thanks for letting me know. I'll play Persona 3 Reload, but right now it's ridiculously expensive, and I just don't, even if I had the money, I do have the money, but I don't want to pay them, man. I don't want to give money to that fucking company, man. I mean, selling their fucking standard game for $85, $90, that's just insulting, man. I'm not paying that much. Fuck those guys, man. Fuck their prices. And which silent protagonist shouldn't be silent, and which non-silent should be in your opinion? Okay, that's an interesting question. There's a couple of silent protagonists that, in my opinion, kinda hurt the story. And one of the, well, it isn't one. This guy isn't exactly 100% silent in the game. He or she narrates the events on every chapter at the beginning or at the end of every chapter, and then they do reactions and they read the reactions you chose. But that's it. They also talk in the character episodes. Of course, I'm referring to Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, which I just beat and reviewed a couple of days ago. And I just don't understand why, for the most part, for most of the game, the protagonist is kind of silent. Like, he barely has any dialogue. Or she, if you pick the girl. Jira, I think that's her name. But the guy's name is Gran. I found it pretty dumb, a dumb decision. Like, why is he silent? I don't understand, you know, he should have been. What else? Adult Christine, maybe. But the point with Adult Christine is that we've been seeing this guy silent for decades. I mean, sure, if you don't know anything about the series and you go and jump straight into East 7, 8, or 9, or Celceta, and then you see the guy as silent, it may bother you a bit, because I don't think the story and the narrative is designed for a silent protagonist, to be honest. But then again, I mean, for us who have been playing East for years and have known the series for many years, I mean, it's a series that started off in the 80s, man. East is the godfather of action JRPGs, in my opinion. No, not in my opinion, that's a fact, actually. Yeah. So I'm used to him not talking. It doesn't bother me that he's a silent protagonist. But yeah, I guess you could easily make an argument on why he shouldn't be silent. Probably. What else? It's kind of hard, you know. Okay, here's one weird decision for me. You know, I didn't mind the Code Vein protagonist being silent, but for some reason I did mind the protagonists in the God Eater trilogy being silent. I don't know why there's so much interaction in those games between the characters and between you and the characters that it just begged for a personality for your main character. There's no decision making in there as far as I remember. Maybe you make a few choices. I forget. But my point with the God Eater trilogy is that it's a perfect example of games that shouldn't have had a silent protagonist. But I guess the whole point was to be able to customize the protagonist, because there was an online multiplayer mode, and if your character had a protagonist, what the fuck is he gonna do or she gonna do in the game with other players? And what if they choose their protagonist? Are they all gonna have the same personality? Are they all gonna have I don't know, man. So it makes sense that the character is silent and customizable. But story-wise, I just felt kind of weird. And JRPGs with a protagonist that should have been silent, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. It's usually the other way around, right? It's like, why is this guy a silent protagonist? Surge and Chrono from the Chrono games are silent. They could have used a personality, but I don't think it would have been that relevant to the story or to the plot. Maybe, maybe not. I don't think so. But yeah, characters that should have been silent in a JRPG, I don't think I can answer that question right now. I mean, I can't think of a single one. Do you have a favorite Falcom composer? Okay, so probably Takehiro Unisuga. Most of his songs are among my favorites. Anyway, Takehiro Unisuga definitely is my favorite composer of the Falcom sound team. Mitsuo Singa is probably a close second. And then there's this guy who remixed the original Yuzo Koshiro themes from the first Ys games, though I always forget his name. God damn it. That guy, man, who did the rearrangements of the original themes for the PSP versions, and they were freaking phenomenal. Oh man, some of my favorite Ys themes of all time come from those rearrangements. So it's Yukihiro Jindoi, right? Yeah, that guy. So, asking me to choose between these three guys. Oh man, I don't think Jindo works for Falcom anymore. Haven't seen his name pop up in some of the later Falcom releases, the newer Ys games or the Trails games. But definitely Jindo, he takes the cake, but he didn't compose those themes. That was Yuzo Koshiro, and he doesn't work for Falcom. He only worked in those Ys games, in those first Ys games. So yeah, I guess my answer is gonna be Takehiro Unisuga. And I think he recently left Falcom, sadly. We played Bug Fables. Never heard of it. The developers are from Panama. Really? I mean, it's like a Bug Fables. That's the name of the game. Bug Fables. What is it about? Some fables, some bugs, some insects in fables, and you play as the insects. You play as ants, spiders, and mosquitoes and flies and what? Bug Fables? I can't believe there's a name like that, man. It's an indie RPG inspired by Paper Mario. But do you play as bugs? Bug Fables, man. Or is it Bugs Fables? Like Bugs Bunny Fables. Me and my fucking jokes, right? I'm so fucking funny. Yeah, you do play as bugs? You play as, oh my god, like Drone Tactics? Like Drone Tactics? Have you guys played Drone Tactics? You play as mechanical insects in that game. It's pretty good. Okay, I'm not really interested in Bug Fables, but maybe it's gonna be one of those days like Drone Tactics. Like, oh man, this game looks stupid. And then I play and it's like, it's pretty decent. Final Fantasy IX is my favorite one. Do you think we're gonna get a remake. There's been some rumors floating around for the past couple of years, and it's a big possibility. There's also some leaks, but I don't really trust these leaks. We've gotten some leaks before that turned out to be right, like Persona 3 Reload, like the Chrono Cross Remaster. Those were legitimate leaks. With Final Fantasy IX, it's been a few years since the remake was supposedly in development, and we have heard nothing. I'll tell you this though, I don't think it's a good idea to remake the game right now while Square Enix is in the middle of remaking Final Fantasy VII. Why would they do that? Why not just focus on finishing the remake of Final Fantasy VII and then move on to Final Fantasy IX? See what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. I'm not Square Enix, of course, but if I was them, I wouldn't remake any Final Fantasy game right now. If the leaks are true, and if we are getting it, that's awesome. You know, I'm a big fan of the game. Just, I hope it's not gonna be an action RPG, hopefully not, but it probably will, unfortunately. I hope they don't ruin it. I hope Tetsuya Nomura doesn't ruin it, although we all know he probably will. So I'm not that excited for a remake. But like I said, if I was Square Enix, I will focus on finishing Final Fantasy VII Remake first, all parts. I think obviously we're gonna get a part 3, and I'm not sure if that's gonna be the last one. But yeah, I will do that first, and then remake other Final Fantasy titles, or any other title for that matter. What's Seven Shadows? That's one of my books. It's a book that I published in 2015. Wow, almost 9 years ago. You can find a link to my books in Amazon in the description of this Q&A right now in case you're interested. They are available digital, but also physical if you want to collect them and buy them and read them and touch them and feel them. Yeah, Seven Shadows is a book. It's a short story about a woman who takes up her sword and decides to kill the 7 people that ruined her life. It's a story about revenge. It's very edgy, you know, and it's kind of on the, it's kind of controversial. You may relate to her and love her, or you may end up cringing. I don't know, up to you. If you decide to read it, hopefully you will enjoy it. Yeah, it's a short story, about 100 pages long. It's good. Didn't know you wrote books. Well, I do. Link in the description to my books. I have 10 self-published books so far. Most of them are available in English. Not all of them, but I'm getting there, translating them. This year, I will translate another one. I did one last year, the translation to English of The Revenant Army, which was a book that I published, oh man, almost 10 years ago. I'm gonna have to do some celebration. Celebrate the 10th anniversary of Terra Gaiden and the Revenant Army. That's gonna be interesting. It's really good. You mean the demo, but there are some problems with the 60 fraps option. Doesn't work very well. A few frame drops, so choose 4K 30 fraps. It's more stable. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. That's been an issue for a lot of Square Enix games. Like, remember Star Ocean, the Divine Force? It asks you to choose between resolution and frame rate, and I thought that was dumb. Like, don't you have enough fucking money to offer both? Like, why are you making me choose? Why can't you just develop like the perfect graphics? Aren't you rich, Square Enix? That's no excuse. And now the same with Final Fantasy VII, like an original IP, first party, and you can't. You're still making people choose between one or the other? I think that's bullshit, man. Did you know that Persona 3 Reload already sold over 1 million copies on its first week? That's crazy, man. Wow, that's fucking crazy. That's, I have no opinion on that because I haven't played the game. But yeah,